the scaffolding started to slide, and I landed on my back, and I fell off the roof. I can remember flying through the air, and I was really thinking I was going to die. I wasn't going to make it because it was high, and I collapsed. I fell down on the floor. I didn't realize even I'd hurt my arm. I was more worried about my back because I'd landed on my back somehow.
Welcome, Yoke. Good to have you here. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay, thank you. My name is Yoka, and I was born in Holland. Yoka is a very Dutch name. I am one of 15 children, 7 older and 7 younger, so I'm the middle child. And my parents were both hairdressers, and as I became a hairdresser later on as well, but all my life I loved music. And so let me start. At the age of about 3, I think I was feeling really unwell, and my mom had put me in bed, and I felt so unwell. But I suppose when you have so many brothers and sisters, you don't get a lot of, that people come to you all the time. That happens with only children, I think. So I don't think my mum noticed how unwell I was feeling. But anyway, I was lying in my little bed, and then I felt suddenly I felt as if I was in a tunnel, and I was going through this tunnel at a very fast speed. And at the end of the tunnel was a blue light, and I wanted to get to the end of the tunnel, but it seemed like ages. And then all of a sudden, I fell back again, and I thought that maybe I was going to die because I felt so ill. And but also I thought I was going to see Mary because I was brought up Catholic. We heard a lot about Mary and Jesus, and I thought I was going to die, I thought. And Mary was going to be at the end of the tunnel. But then I came back, and I can't remember the whole end of how that happened and if I even told anybody about that experience. Then when I was 7 or so, we were all allowed to choose some hobby. And my hobby was music. I loved music, always loved music. And so I was allowed on my day off from school on Saturdays, I was allowed to go to music school. And so I had to cycle to this little town where there was the music school. And for the first year that I was there, I played the recorder, and I learned theory of music. And then the following year, I was allowed to choose an instrument, and I chose to play the violin and I always loved playing the violin. Then to carry on a bit, when I was about 16, I started playing in an orchestra. I was the youngest there. I think it was all adults, and then later on, when I was 13, we moved to this much bigger house, and I became a hairdresser, like my parents were hairdressers, and I still had music lessons. And I stopped going to church at about 16, 17, because we used to go to church and borrow my dad's car. And then instead of going to church, we used to go to the beach, because we didn't really want to go to church in those days, which was very naughty. And so I stayed in that stage for a long time. I got into doing tarot cards and stuff like that, not very wholesome. And when I was 20,
If I may ask for the listeners, what unwholesome things
well, I was smoking cigarettes, and I started to smoke dope, and God wasn't in my picture at all in those years. So that sort of thing. But I wasn't being really, really bad. But yeah, I was not being godly at all in those years, from the age of 17 to when I became a God lover. And that was much, much later. So shall I carry on?
Yeah, how did the rest of your life play out?
Yeah, so I moved to England when I was 21. And even then, I wasn't meeting with God at all. That wasn't in my life at all. I was cooking at the field center. I cooked for about 100 people every day. And it was just, busy life. And I got married. And when I was 22, 23. And so then I used to teach music at several primary schools. And then I got divorced. And then I met Michael, my husband. And he was, because I bought a little house, and he was doing some plumbing, some plastering work in my little cottage. And so we eventually we got together. And then we moved. We actually moved and bought some barns that we converted into a beautiful home. And we had met some friends who were Christians, and they invited us for a meal one day. And we thought, because they were Christians, we thought, well, there could be some other people here that are also Christians. So that was that was true as well. There was this pastor of the church, and we met, and yeah. So gradually our lives was changing a bit, because we suddenly were in a whole different set of friends. And yeah. So then after we bought our barns, we bought the barns, and we were working on these barns. And one day we were doing the roof, and Michael had put up some scaffolding in wasn't a very clever way, I don't think. And it was raining a bit, and I said, no, I don't want to go on the roof, because I didn't feel good. But I had to, because he had to go up one bit of the roof, and I had to go on the scaffolding on another bit of the roof, slightly sloping. And he had to go up high, and I had to stand at the bottom of the ladder on this sloping roof. And because it was raining a bit, things started to slide. And it was sort of like at least the height of this roof ceiling, about 3-4 meters. I don't know. The scaffolding started to slide, and I landed on my back, and I fell off the roof. I can remember flying through the air, and I was really thinking I was going to die. I wasn't going to make it, because it was high. And I collapsed. I fell down on the floor. I didn't realize even I'd hurt my arm. I was more worried about my back, because I'd landed on my back somehow. And so then they called for an ambulance, and I really badly broke my arm, really badly. The bone was sticking out, but I still couldn't feel any pain, which was quite strange. And then I was taken to hospital, And Michael, in the meantime, he had slipped down from the top roof to the second roof where I was. But he landed on his bottom and he just sat there and he saw me go over the edge of the roof. And he was in shock, of course, as well. He somehow, I don't know how, managed to get down from the roof. And he came with me in the ambulance. And when I got to the hospital, I was operated on. And after the operation, the surgeon said, well, you will never play the violin again. And I said, what? And he didn't realize I played the violin because, that was part of my life. I loved playing the violin. And he said, oh dear, I didn't realize, So anyway, that was kind of a joke what he said. But in that time, I had incredible pain in my arm and it lasted for a long time, months and months. My arm was so sore. It was horrible. And then we got into, we met these people who were, what do you call it, spiritualists. And they asked us to come and they would pray for me with my arm. And, they did, but I wasn't really feeling any better at all. So eventually we went back to our friends that were already friends that we had known for ages. And they invited us to go to a opening of a Bible college. And there was Andrew Wommack. He was, I think he was the leader of this Bible college. And there were lots of people there, a few hundred people. And we had arrived late because it was quite away from home. And so he at one point said, oh, there's somebody here who's got a broken arm. So I thought, well, yeah, but there's so many people here. It could be several people with broken arms. So I didn't say anything or do anything. And then after a while he said, the person who's broken their arm broke their left arm. And I thought, yes, we've all got two arms. So if there are people with broken arms, there could be. So after a while, he said, actually, God is telling me there is somebody here who fell from some height and smashed their left elbow. And then I started shaking because now God was talking to me and I was so happy. I wasn't happy, but I was so thrilled that God knew me. I thought, God knows me. He knows me. He knows I've fallen from a roof. He knows I've broken my arm. And then I was absolutely in wonder about that. It was just amazing, so amazing. So then Andrew Wommack asked me to come to the front of the church and so everybody could pray for me. And they did. And I fell out in the spirit. I suddenly was finding myself on the floor and I thought, wow, this is amazing. What is happening? So anyway, I got picked up again. And afterwards, there were lots of people came and talked with me and said, wow, that was an amazing experience, which it was. And then we went home and we went to bed. And after a while, Michael had gone to sleep. And I was just lying there because I couldn't move my arm at all. And then all of a sudden, my arm started moving from this position to almost straight. In fact, to here is where I can do. I can't stretch my arm like this arm, but this one stayed there. But anyway, it meant I could play the violin again. And I was so, so happy about that. And so I really got to know God firsthand in a way, which was really so special. And then I was asked to play the violin in church, which now I could do it, although I had not practiced for a couple of years because I couldn't. And then I started playing in the church. I always had to look at music paper, look at the notes. But now I can play without looking at notes, which was another gift that God gave me, so I can play music without looking at music. And so from then on, I've been playing. I've been playing a lot, and I'm not that brilliant, but I enjoy it, and I know God healed me for this reason, for this special reason, because He knew I loved playing, and I can. So that is my testimony.
And since coming to Christ, has there been an impactful encounter with Him that has strengthened your faith walk?
Well, I'm being strengthened all the time. It's not a one thing, although sometimes I'm still in wonder how my arm is not straight, but I can still play the violin. It's not a one thing. It's not a one thing, but I love the Lord, and I don't know how ever I did walk away from God all those years and waited all these years. But He found me, really. I didn't find Him, He found me. And the fact that I had to fall off a roof for this to happen is really quite amazing, I think. And anyway, so shortly after all that happened, Michael and I felt we had to get married. So we got married. It's a long time ago now. And and we loved the Lord. Michael became a pastor of the church, and I've always been there, and we still have meetings at home, and I cook for lots of people because I always loved cooking as well. So that's it basically. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And for a final question, if there's a listener that's watching your story and maybe they're going through something similar, they're far away from God or they've drifted away, do you have some words of encouragement to them?
Well, you don't have to be far away from God. Just keep close to God, always. Even though you might not want to go to church or whatever, but just keep God in your heart because He loves you and He knows you. He knew me. He picked me out from all these people in that room. So, now I wish I hadn't ever walked away, but that was the past and now is now. And I love the Lord, and He always will know you. He always knows you, even if you go through really hard times or whichever times you do something that you know that God won't like. You just keep Him close in your heart because He knows you. That's it.
Well, it's certainly been a joy to listen to your story, Yoke, and I appreciate you sharing with us.
Thank you.